Most people think if they avoid table salt, their blood pressure stays safe. That's what I thought too, until I stood in an ICU at 2 in the morning looking at a 68-year-old retired teacher named Margaret who had been doing everything right. Low sodium diet, daily walks, medication every morning without fail. Her blood pressure at her last checkup 3 weeks earlier, 138/82. Not perfect, but stable. The night she came in, after 3 strokes in rapid succession, it was 210/130. Her husband kept saying the same thing over and over. We were so careful. She never touched the salt shaker. Here's what nobody told Margaret. What I'm going to tell you today. My name is Dr. Michael Brennan. I'm a cardiothoracic surgeon with 28 years in the operating room. I've opened over 2,400 chests. I've held beating hearts in my hands. And I've spent nearly 3 decades watching the same preventable patterns repeat. Patients who did everything right and still ended up on my table. The part that stays with me is this. In case after case, the trigger wasn't the food they ate. It wasn't lack of exercise. It was what they drank in the hours before bed. Simple beverages they had been told were harmless. Some they had been told were healthy. Today, I'm going to tell you what nobody took the time to explain to them. After 60, your body is not playing by the same rules anymore. Think of your arteries like garden hoses that have been in the sun for 30 years. They lose their elasticity. They stiffen. When pressure surges through them at night, they can't flex and absorb the spike the way they used to. Your kidneys, the organs responsible for regulating fluid balance and blood pressure, slow down. They process sodium and fluids more slowly overnight. This means anything you drink in the evening stays in your bloodstream longer, exerting pressure against artery walls that are already compromised. More than 65% of adults over 60 have high blood pressure. But here's the part that matters. Blood pressure follows a circadian rhythm. For most people, it dips naturally during sleep. But in older adults, especially those with existing hypertension, that protective dip often disappears. Instead, pressure can spike during the night, silently damaging vessels while you're unconscious. And the 7 drinks I'm about to walk you through are the ones I see most often in the hours before these overnight surges. Now, this first one is going to surprise a lot of people because it's marketed as heart healthy. Green tea, especially the late afternoon or evening cup that so many of my patients swear by. Green tea contains caffeine, not as much as coffee, but enough. 1 cup can have 25 to 50 milligrams. After 60, your body metabolizes caffeine more slowly. The half-life of caffeine in a younger adult is about 5 hours. In someone over 65, it can stretch to 7 or even 9 hours. That means the cup of green tea you drink at 6 p.m. is still actively stimulating your cardiovascular system at midnight. Caffeine triggers the release of adrenaline. Adrenaline constricts blood vessels. Constricted vessels mean higher pressure against the walls. I had a patient, I'll call him Robert, 72, retired accountant, health conscious, no added sugar, organic everything. He drank 2 cups of green tea every evening after dinner because he had read it was good for cholesterol. His blood pressure medication wasn't controlling his numbers anymore. We ran a 24-hour ambulatory monitor. His pressure spiked between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. every single night. When he stopped the evening tea, his overnight readings dropped by an average of 18 points systolic within 2 weeks. Here's the question I want you to ask yourself. Do you drink any caffeinated beverage, tea, coffee, soda, after 3 p.m.? Write that down. The fix here costs nothing. If you want green tea, move it to the morning. After 3 p.m., I switch to herbal teas with no caffeine. Chamomile, rooibos, peppermint. That's all. Your kidneys and your arteries will handle the rest. Let me ask you something before we go further. How many of you are drinking this next one because a commercial told you it was healthy? Sports drinks, electrolyte drinks. The ones with the bright colors and the labels that promise hydration and recovery. These drinks are designed for athletes losing massive amounts of sodium and potassium through sweat. They are not designed for a 65-year-old sitting on the couch watching television at 8 p.m. 1 20-ounce bottle of a typical sports drink contains 270 to 410 milligrams of sodium. That's nearly 20% of the recommended daily limit for someone with high blood pressure, delivered in liquid form that your kidneys have to process overnight. Sodium pulls water into your bloodstream. More fluid volume means more pressure. After 60, your kidneys process sodium more slowly at night. That spike in fluid volume sits there, hour after hour, pressing against vessel walls that are already stiff and compromised. I've had patients tell me they drink these because they're replacing electrolytes after a walk around the neighborhood. A 30-minute walk at moderate pace does not deplete your sodium to a level that requires a sports drink. It just doesn't. If you're thirsty after exercise, water does the job. If you truly need electrolyte replacement, after intense heat exposure, after illness with vomiting or diarrhea, then yes, consider it. But not as a nightly beverage. Not after 60. Not if your blood pressure is already elevated. Starting tonight, replace that sports drink with plain water or water with a slice of lemon. That one change could drop your overnight systolic pressure by 10 to 15 points within a week. Here's where it gets complicated. This next one is the hardest to talk about because people love it, and the industry has spent billions convincing you it's harmless. Diet soda. 0 calorie, 0 sugar, marketed as the smart alternative. I need you to hear this clearly because this is where the most preventable damage happens. Diet sodas are loaded with sodium. Not always labeled prominently, but it's there. One 12-ounce can contain anywhere from 35 to 75 milligrams of sodium, depending on the brand. That's not catastrophic on its own. But it's almost never one can. It's two. It's three. It's the evening ritual. People sit down after dinner, turn on the television, and reach for that cold can thinking they made the smart choice because it has 0 calories. They're avoiding sugar. They're being responsible. But they're missing what else is in that can. And then there's the caffeine. Most diet colas have 35 to 45 milligrams of caffeine per can. Same problem as the green tea. Your body is still processing that caffeine when you're trying to sleep, and it's keeping your blood vessels constricted. The caffeine doesn't just disappear because the label says 0 sugar. It's there. It's active. And after 60, when your liver metabolizes caffeine more slowly, that 8p, N-sen-shim, diet soda is still affecting your cardiovascular system at midnight. But here's the part that even I had a significant blind spot about for the first 15 years of my career. Stay with me. Artificial sweeteners in diet sodas, aspartame, sucralose, saccharin, have been shown in multiple studies to alter gut bacteria in ways that affect how your body regulates blood sugar and blood pressure. When your gut microbiome is disrupted, your body's ability to manage sodium and fluid balance gets worse. You retain more fluid. Your blood pressure goes up. This is not fringe science. This is published, peer-reviewed research that most doctors still aren't talking about with their patients. The gut-brain-heart connection is real. Your gut bacteria produce compounds that signal to your kidneys how to handle sodium. When artificial sweeteners kill off beneficial bacteria and allow harmful strains to proliferate, those signals get scrambled. Your body doesn't know when to release sodium and when to hold it. The result is unpredictable fluid retention and pressure spikes, especially overnight when your body should be in restoration mode. I had a patient, 66 years old, drinking 4 diet sodas a day, 2 of them after 5 p. N-sen-shim. Her pressure was uncontrolled despite 3 medications. We tried adjusting doses. We added a 4th medication. Nothing was working the way it should have. When she cut out the diet soda entirely and switched to carbonated water with a splash of lime, her pressure dropped 22 points systolic over 6 weeks. 22 points. No new medication, no surgery. Just removing one thing her body couldn't handle anymore. The question to ask your doctor. Write this down. Could my diet soda habit be interfering with my blood pressure medication? That question opens a conversation most doctors aren't starting themselves. This one surprises people every time because it sounds healthy. Vegetable juice. The kind you buy in big bottles from the grocery store with pictures of tomatoes and carrots and celery on the label. 1 cup, 8 ounces, of commercial tomato juice contains about 650 milligrams of sodium. That's more sodium than a serving of potato chips. More than a handful of salted peanuts. The low-sodium versions still have 140 milligrams per cup, and most people don't stop at 1 cup. They pour a full glass. They drink it with dinner or right before bed because they think it's a vegetable serving. Your body doesn't care that the sodium came from a vegetable. Sodium is sodium. And when you drink it in liquid form in the evening, it floods your bloodstream faster than food-based sodium because there's no fiber-slowing absorption. Your kidneys are left trying to filter that sodium load overnight while you're lying flat, while your circulation is slower, while your natural blood pressure dip is supposed to be happening. For someone over 60 with already compromised kidney function, this is a setup for an overnight pressure surge. There is one patient story that stays with me about this. I'll call her Diane. 63. Worked in a library her whole life, loved gardening, drank a large glass of low-sodium V8 every single night before bed because her daughter told her it would help with her potassium levels. It did help with potassium, but the sodium, even in the low-sodium version, was spiking her pressure every night between 1 and 4 a.m. We discovered this on a 24-hour monitor after she came in with severe headaches and blurred vision. When she switched to eating actual vegetables, cherry tomatoes, cucumber slices, bell pepper strips, instead of drinking them, her overnight pressure stabilized within 3 weeks. If you want the nutrients from vegetables, eat them, chew them. Let your digestive system process them slowly. The fiber matters. The chewing matters. It changes how your body absorbs and regulates the sodium. But drinking them concentrated in a glass at night? That's a blood pressure spike waiting to happen. I need you to hear this one because almost everyone over 60 does this, and the marketing makes it sound like medicine. Meal replacement shakes, protein shakes, nutritional supplement drinks in bottles or powder form that you mix with milk or water and drink for breakfast or as a nighttime snack. These products are heavily marketed to older adults as convenient nutrition. Some are legitimately helpful for people with serious difficulty eating solid food, but most people drinking them don't need them. They're drinking them because a commercial said it would keep them strong. Here's what the commercial doesn't tell you. Most of these drinks contain 200 to 300 milligrams of sodium per serving. They also contain added sugars or sugar alcohols that can cause fluid retention. And many people drink them at night, right before bed, because the label says it supports overnight muscle recovery or bone health. Your 68-year-old body is not recovering muscle overnight the way a 25-year-old athlete does. What it is doing is trying to process a sodium and sugar load while lying horizontal with slower kidney filtration and already stiffened arteries. I've had patients tell me these shakes are doctor recommended. And yes, doctors do recommend them for specific medical situations, post-surgery, after illness with weight loss, for patients with swallowing difficulties. But if you can chew and swallow regular food, you don't need a liquid meal in a bottle at 9 p.m. You need actual food, an egg, a piece of cheese, a handful of nuts, real food that your body processes slowly, that doesn't flood your system with sodium in one fast-absorbing hit. The fix here is simple. If your doctor specifically prescribed a meal replacement shake for a medical reason, keep drinking it, but move it to earlier in the day, morning or early afternoon. If you're drinking it because you think you should, because the label made it sound necessary, stop. Replace it with real food. Your blood pressure will thank you. This next one is going to make some of you uncomfortable, and I understand that. But I have to say it. Alcohol, specifically the evening drink. The nightcap, the glass of wine with dinner, or the whiskey before bed that so many people consider a harmless ritual. Alcohol has a biphasic effect on blood pressure. In the first hour or two after you drink it, it can actually lower your pressure slightly because it relaxes blood vessels. This is why some people feel a brief sense of calm or warmth. But 3 to 6 hours later, as your liver metabolizes the alcohol, your blood pressure rebounds. And that rebound is almost always higher than where you started. For someone over 60, this rebound happens during sleep. You go to bed with slightly lowered pressure. You wake up at 3 a.m. Or you don't wake up. You just experience it unconsciously, with a significant spike. Your heart is working harder. Your vessels are constricted. Your kidneys are trying to process the byproducts of alcohol metabolism while also managing fluid balance. It's a perfect storm. One study tracking older adults with hypertension found that those who drank alcohol within 4 hours of bedtime had average overnight systolic spikes of 12 to 18 points compared to nights when they didn't drink. 12 to 18 points. That's not a small fluctuation. That's the difference between controlled and uncontrolled hypertension. I'm not telling you to never drink alcohol. I'm telling you the timing matters. If you're going to have a drink, have it earlier, before 6 p.m. and limit it to 1. Give your body time to process it before you lie down for the night. But if your blood pressure is already elevated, if you're on medication that isn't fully controlling your numbers, the honest answer is this. The safest amount of alcohol for your cardiovascular system right now is none. That's not a moral judgment. That's physiology. Let me tell you about the last one. This is the one that even catches people who think they're doing everything right. Fruit juice, not soda, not artificially flavored drinks, real fruit juice, orange juice, apple juice, cranberry juice, grape juice, the kind that says 100% juice on the label with no added sugar. It sounds healthy. It is made from fruit. But here's what happens when you take an orange and squeeze out only the liquid. You remove the fiber. Fiber is what slows down sugar absorption. Without it, the natural sugar in that juice, fructose, hits your bloodstream fast. Your pancreas releases insulin to manage the sugar. Insulin tells your kidneys to hold on to sodium. More sodium retention means more fluid in your bloodstream. More fluid means higher pressure. And because you're drinking this at night, with dinner or right before bed because you think it's giving you vitamin C, your kidneys are processing this sodium retention order while you're asleep. 1 8-ounce glass of orange juice contains about 2 milligrams of sodium. That sounds like nothing. But it also contains 21 grams of sugar. The sugar is what triggers the insulin, and the insulin is what makes you retain sodium from everything else you ate that day. It's an indirect pathway, but the result is the same. Higher overnight blood pressure. I had a patient, I'll call him Edward, 70, former engineer, meticulous about his health, drank a large glass of fresh squeezed orange juice every morning and another with dinner because he had read that vitamin C was good for his heart. His fasting blood pressure was fine. but his evening and overnight readings were consistently elevated. When he switched to eating an actual orange instead of drinking the juice, same vitamin C, but with all the fiber intact, his overnight pressure dropped an average of 14 points within 4 weeks. 14 points from one simple change. If you want fruit, eat the whole fruit. The fiber changes everything. It slows absorption. It supports your gut bacteria. It doesn't trigger the same insulin response. But drinking the juice, especially at night, you're giving your body a sugar and fluid load it has to manage while you sleep, and after 60, that management system is already compromised. I want to be honest with you for a moment, not as a content creator, as a surgeon. I have stood at an operating table at 3 in the morning, holding a heart that was struggling against pressure it should never have faced. I have spoken to families in waiting rooms at dawn, families who had no idea anything was wrong when they said goodnight 6 hours earlier. In case after case, the contributing factors were not mysterious. They were evening habits: a can of diet soda, a glass of juice, a sports drink after a walk, a nightcap before bed. These are not exotic risk factors. They are the background noise of millions of ordinary kitchens and living rooms. And that background noise, accumulated night after night, year after year, creates the silent vessel damage that leads to strokes, heart attacks, and surgeries that should never have been necessary. I want to tell you about Margaret, the patient I mentioned at the start. 68, retired teacher, low sodium diet, daily exercise, compliant with medication. She came to me after 3 strokes in one night. We worked for months on recovery, physical therapy, speech therapy, relearning how to write her own name. She made progress, not full recovery, but real progress. 8 months later, she came back for a follow-up. She could walk with a cane. Her speech was slower, but clear. The first thing she said to me was this: "Why didn't anyone tell me it wasn't just the salt shaker? Why didn't anyone talk about what I was drinking?" That question stays with me. It's a big part of why I make videos like this one. Let me summarize what we covered. 7 drinks that spike blood pressure overnight, especially after 60. Number 1, green tea or any caffeinated beverage after 3 p.m. The caffeine is still active when you're trying to sleep, constricting vessels and raising pressure. Number 2, sports drinks and electrolyte beverages consumed in the evening. Sodium and fluid load. Your kidneys can't process efficiently overnight. Number 3, diet soda. Caffeine, sodium, and artificial sweeteners that disrupt gut bacteria and fluid regulation. Number 4, vegetable juice from a bottle. Concentrated sodium without the fiber, hitting your bloodstream fast. Number 5, meal replacement shakes and protein drinks at night. Unnecessary sodium and sugar loads marketed as health products. Number 6, alcohol within 4 hours of bedtime. The rebound spike happens while you sleep. Number 7, fruit juice in the evening. Sugar without fiber, triggering insulin-driven sodium retention. Which of these 7 drinks do you recognize in your own evenings? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. There is someone in your life, a spouse, a sibling, a friend, a parent, who needs exactly this information. Someone who thinks they're being careful with salt, but doesn't realize what they're drinking is sabotaging their numbers every night. Send this to them. That one share might be the most important thing you do today. Every week I bring you honest, evidence-based information that I wish every one of my patients had access to long before they needed surgery. If you want more of that, subscribe. One last thing, and this is important. Everything I've shared today is based on published research and my clinical experience as a cardiothoracic surgeon. But your situation is unique. Your history is individual. Your medications may interact with dietary changes in ways that need monitoring. Before changing anything, any beverage, any supplement, any routine, please talk to your own physician first. That conversation is not a formality. It is the whole point. Better information, better conversations, better outcomes. That's the chain that matters. Your heart has been working for you every single minute of every single day since before you were born. It deserves the care that comes from knowing what actually helps and what secretly harms. Take care of your heart.